Hi,
Glad she's
Juliet. Welcome. Can you hear me okay? I think she might be having issues with her mic. It sounds like she's trying to say something, but I can't hear it. You guys can. Oh, there she is. We see you. I'll go ahead and get started. I was just, if you were already familiar with MCE, I wasn't going to go through my normal spiel, but since I'm not sure, I'll just go ahead. I'm Lisa Twilley. I'm the director of the Women's Business Center here at Maryland Capital Enterprises. And just some information about MCE. We are a nonprofit based here in Salisbury. We assist entrepreneurs that are getting started in business or if they're already in business and trying to expand. We do business consulting, marketing consulting, training workshops such as this, and we also do small business loans. We also have an office in Baltimore that serves Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. So I put my information in the chat. If we can be of assistance to you in any way, please reach out to us. All of our services are free. And today we have Rosalind Davis, who is President and CEO of RADA Business Solutions. And she is going to do part 2 of the MBE, DBE, SBE certification process. So it's a lot of information that she squeezes in a little bit of time. So we will pause for questions. We'll have several breaks. I will check the chat. So if you want to put your question in the chat, I'll read that to her, and then we can, keep it moving that way. So thank you guys for joining us today. All right, Rosalind.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Let me move you out of my way. There we go. So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on Maryland's Department of Transportation Business Certifications. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. Again, I'm Rosalind Davis, President and CEO of ROTA Business Solutions, a management consulting firm specializing in program project management, strategic engagements, business administration, logistics operation, organizational development, training services, and solutions. ROTA Business Solutions is certified as a woman, veteran, and minority-owned small business located in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I want to thank the Maryland Capital Enterprise, the Women Business Center Director Lisa Twilley for providing this training platform, and Ms. Kamalia Blunt of Lord and Tucker Management Consultants for making the initial connection between ROTA Business Solutions and the Maryland Capital Enterprise Women Business Center. I also want to thank Marvin Jenkins for his support in part 1 and also his continued support in part 2 of this training. Finally, my disclaimer. The screenshots that used in this presentation are actual screen captures from Maryland Department of Transportation Certification online application, but the views and opinions expressed during this webinar are my views and in no way are the views and opinions of the government or any other entity. Now, if you haven't done so already, I recommend in the top right corner of your Zoom screen to switch to the standard view. It'll just enhance your visibility of the application screenshots because some of them may be small and difficult to see. So the link to Maryland Department of Transportation certification application, it is posted in the chat. And when you get a moment, you might want to bookmark that on your desktop. So here's the agenda for part 2. Part 1, we had already talked about sections 1 through 4, and I will do a brief recap during this session on what sections 1 through 4 covered. Now, one key thing I want to remind everyone that there is no cost to apply for MDOT certifications. Please do not pay anyone to do this certification and upload documents on your behalf. It is a 4-step process. The first step is application submission. The second part is an investigation to include an on-site or virtual visit and an interview. And then the third part is the evaluation to see if you meet the eligibility requirements. And last is the determination. It's the decision letter from Maryland Department of Transportation, whether you have been approved or denied your certification application. This whole process takes about 3 to 4 months to render a decision, so you just have to be patient, but it is quite a lengthy process. So one thing I want to point out is section 1 through 4. This is what we covered in part 1. So section 1 is basically your name, your phone number, your email address, and then another section 1 prior certification. This is where you determine whether you have had a previous certification through MDOT or not, or you're applying for a new certification. Section 2, business profile. This is where you will enter your North American Industry Classification Codes. The NAICS codes, this is how the government buys the things that they want for their organizations. And then you'll also enter the number and type of employees, your gross business receipts, and also you'll have to use this information further on for your documentation as well. The next section is relationships. So this is asking you if you're an owner in another business, subsidiary, etc. Section 3, owner information. They're asking you what is the year owned and the percentage of the business that you own. And then how did you acquire the business? Was it given to you? Did you start it on your own? And then how much did you invest in your business? And then finally in that section, it will also ask you about a personal net worth statement. This statement is very important. I will foot stomp a couple of times during this presentation that is a document that you will have to have notarized before you upload. And section 4 is officers and board of directors. You can list yourself on both positions. So for like my company, I am the officer and I am the board of directors because I actually do not have a corporation set up. So my name is in both of those positions. Section 4, continuing management personnel. This is the duties and responsibilities of your management staff. You could be the single point of contact for all of those positions. The key here is to make sure that your resume speaks to your duties and responsibilities because you'll have to upload your resume later on in the documentation section. Section 4 continues to inventory. The inventory that they're asking for right here is your business equipment and your vehicles, things that you use for the business, and then office space, whether you rent or purchase your office space. The financials, you will need your banking information. You'll also need your sources of loan. You'll make sure that the information you include in this section, it also has that information on your personal net worth statement. So for instance, if you have a loan for your business, make sure that you have included that on your personal net worth statement as well. And the key is to make sure that the information that you enter in the application when you're answering the questions and answers, that it actually matches the documentation that you upload later. And then the final section for that we covered in part 1 is the licenses and contracts. This is where if you are a plumber or electrician, they want you to upload your licenses for those particular trades. It could be other trades, but also contracts. If you had contracts within those, they want you to upload the 3 largest contracts for your business. Now, I want to point out that unlike SAM.gov registration, you can complete this application in any order you want. So if you have information now and you have to come back later to complete it, you can complete it in any order, which is a beauty of this website. So I'm going to move on to airport concession. Because this session was not covered during part 1. I only covered sections 1 through 4. So this last section right here that I have circled is airport concession certification. This particular session has 5 mandatory questions, so I'll go into and review those questions now. So here are the 5 mandatory questions. Respond accordingly and then hit submit to move on to the required document section. The required document section is where you're going to spend a good portion of your time making sure that you have those documents on hand, readily available to upload into the system. Now, I want to point out that the last question on this page will relate to your joint ventures. So you will need to upload a joint venture agreement in the documentation section if you have a joint venture. For me and my company, I do not participate in ACDBE certification, so this was a straight no for me. And therefore, when it came to the documentation section, it was not applicable. All right, moving into required documents. I'm going to spend a lot of time making sure I go through the details of each document so that you understand and can ask questions if you have something that's specific to you. Okay, if you recall from part 1, there are checklists on the MDOT certification website where if you're a sole proprietorship, LLC, partnership, corporation, there are checklists that are applicable to your business structure. Now, listed here on this slide is common documentation, whether you go for ACDBE, MBE, it doesn't matter the certification. These are common documents that are listed here that you will require for each certification. Now, you'll also notice that there's 2 documents that must be notarized. Again, your personal net worth statement, but then also the affidavit of certification. And I will show both of those documents to you later on in this training. MDOT's preference is for all these documents to be uploaded electronically via their online portal. Now, something that I recently learned from their website, that if you are certified in your home state as a DBE or ACDBE, you do not have to complete this application for other states. You need to ask your state about your uniform certification application process, and there could be reciprocity. This is something that was not known during part 1, so make sure that if you are certified in another state, perhaps like Virginia, which is right next door to Maryland, that there could be reciprocity so that you do not have to complete that application again. Okay, moving on to the document list. And this is the list of mandatory documents. These are the documents that you must upload. So hopefully you can see the screen, but I will go through this list of mandatory documents. And you can see here at the top of this list, they listed the 2 that definitely needs notarization before you can upload them in the system. So I recommend that you use the download function to download both of those documents, complete them, take them to your notary and sign them in front of them, and then return them to upload each of those documentations. So here's the first one, affidavit of certification, DBE. Again, this must be notarized. It's going to ask you for your full name. It's also going to ask you for your race. Those 2 sections can be filled out, but do not sign this document until you're in front of a notary. Personal net worth statement. This document is so important. It basically provides your net worth. So it tells about your debts, any loans that you may have, any assets that you may have as well. The key is to make sure that this information is complete and accurate because they will verify it. If you recall from part 1, there's a section 3 of the majority owner's information where it was just one question that asked about your personal net worth. So make sure that where down here it's circled net worth, that number that you put right here also is the same number that you put in section 3 of the majority owner's information. I also would just double check to make sure that all these numbers are accurate. I don't want to rely on the form to do the automatic calculation because if it's wrong, the onus is on you, not the form. And don't forget that once you complete this, do not sign it. It must be signed in front of a notary. So the next section is, it'll ask about your business and personal taxes. You will need to upload 3 to 5 years of your business and or federal income taxes. If you do e-file, like most people do not upload the e-file form 8879 with your wet signature. They want the wet signature on the 1040. Any questions so far?
I don't see anything in the chat.
All right, moving along. So the next section is proof of good standing status with SSTAT. So these are annual filings that are due no later than 15 April of each year. This typically costs about $300 to do the annual filing. To get this good stat certification, it costs you about $40. It's kind of tricky. It'll say it's $20 for the certification, but then $20 for an expedited fee. There's no way around that expedited fee. They might as well just tell you it costs $40. But what will happen is after you pay the fee, you will have immediate access to your certification. Now, some common reasons that a business may not be in good standing is if you did not file your annual report and or pay your personal property tax returns. There's ways to correct that. You can go online and they will help you get your business up to date so that you're in good standing. And when you are not in good standing, you will not be able to receive awards through Maryland. So, and then if you don't do your annual report or your personal property tax, there could be a penalty as well. So the key is you want to make sure that you do your annual filings for your business, but also your personal property tax returns as well, because you don't want to be in not in good standings and not be able to get a award that you have been potentially bidding on. Now, proof of good standing, this is what a proof of good standing certificate looked like. As you can see, the company is at the time of this certification is in good standing to transact business. You will receive the certificate that you can download and save to your desktop after you pay the $40, but this is what the certificate looks like. The next mandatory document is identification. So you have to provide proof of citizenship. Here's a list of some acceptable documentation. It could be your passport, birth certificate, driver's license, permanent residence card, nationalization certificate, or another form of government issue ID with the photo. Bank authorization form and the signature card. Both of these documents must have your bank name, your business name, and the name of the person that is authorized to sign the checks. You can also upload a canceled check, but it has to have the business address on that canceled check. So you will need at least 2 of the 3 forms for your bank authorization documentation. Proof of contributions. Now, this list is just an examples of the documents that you can upload to show proof of contributions to your business. For instance, when you initially registered your business, you should have that registration receipt from the state of Maryland. You should also have that good standing certificate. So when you registered your business, again, you got a good standing certificate. Domain name receipt, you can use that as well to say you have a domain name for your business. If you have, for instance, QuickBooks or some other accounting system that has your business name, that could be used as a receipt, or your EIN letter that you get from the IRS. So these are just a sample list of documentations that you can upload to show that your contributions to your business, and that they're basically checking to make sure that this is not a legal business or shadow business, but this is a valid business in operations. Now, the resumes for all owners. So if you recall from section 4, management of personnel, that I covered in part 1, the key here is when you upload your resume, you want to make sure that it says that you are the president, CEO, the founder, or whatever your title is of your company, and that you set the policy and direction, that you are the person making the purchasing decisions. You are either the person who does the field operations, but you just need to make sure that the language says that you are the person that are running that company, and it doesn't give the appearance that someone else is running the company and you're just a name only. And then also your North American Industry Classification Codes, your NAICS code. If you say that you are a general management consulting, using that NAICS code 541611, for example, somewhere on your resume, you need to talk about how you've done management consulting in the past, what qualifies you to be an expert in that. So just make sure that those are things that can come back, they will ask questions on. Take it from me, I've been there because they asked that question to me. So I'm sharing that with you as a lessons learned. Year-end financial statements. So you will need a balance sheet. You will need a profit and loss statement. Sometimes this is called an income statement. You will also need any type of audited financial statements if they apply. But these documents do not have to be CPA generated. They can be, a statement from your QuickBooks. It could be your Excel spreadsheet that has balance sheet written across the top, or profit and loss statement, or some other form. But the key is you do not have to go to your tax accountant to get these documents if you have it in the system already, such as QuickBooks or in Excel. The CPA generated is acceptable as well. And if, for instance, you don't have a balance sheet or a profit and loss statement because you just started your business, let's say this year, then I'm going to show you later on how you would say this document doesn't apply to me. Now, your articles of organization. You will upload a copy of the articles of organization that you received when you initially registered your business. So one thing that I do is I keep all my business documents on my desktop in one folder, so that as I do my annual recertification or as I do other things, I can readily access those documents. And then operating agreement. At first, I did not know what an operating agreement was, but I did a Google. There's plenty of templates out there to show you what an operating agreement is. Here is just a list of some typical paragraphs. Now, this list is not all exhaustive list of what needs to be in your operating agreement. This is just some examples. For instance, there could be a paragraph on the name and the principal place of the business. What's your purpose? What's your mission? What's your vision? But also talk about the management of your company. Who's the owner? Who else is in your business to help you run it? Your books, your records, your tax returns. Basically, how do you do your record keeping? Who's responsible for your tax returns? Do you have a CPA or do you do it yourself? And then also include a paragraph about dissolution and liquidation. What should happen if you dissolve your company? Or you liquidate your assets. So those are just some examples of what needs to be in your operating agreement. And again, you can Google it and find good templates out there for free. Profit sharing agreement. Now, let's just say for the purpose of this training, you do not have a profit sharing agreement. So I'm going to show you an example of some information, or I'm going to just talk to you some information that you can enter in a Word document and then upload it. So this will be the same as if there were business taxes that did not apply to your company. So what you want to do is just open up a Word document, put your company, open up a Word document, put your company name, your principal place of business, and then you're going to type uniform certification application to include your application number. That way they'll see, this is Rosalind Davis, Rhoda Business Solutions. This is for the uniform certification application, and here's my application number. And you can see the application number in the system as you start your application. And then I will just type a little simple statement: profit sharing agreement is not applicable. And then I will sign it, I'll date it, and I'll upload it. So it could be that simple. So for instance, for business taxes, I started my company last year, so therefore I didn't have 3 years of business taxes. And so I just typed up a simple letter, name, business, the name of my name, the company's name, my application number, and for each year, you need to do this for each year. Do not have 2021 business tax returns, just started the company in 2022. That way, it ensures the reviewer on the other side that you have taken note of the particular document that was required, and it just does not apply to your company. So you have addressed the requirement, but it does not apply to your business. But the key is you have to upload a document if it's a mandatory document. So there's another list of documents says, if applicable. Now over here on the left, you'll notice it'll ask if applicable, and then it provides all these boxes where you can check off if there is a document, for instance, in my last example, profit sharing agreements. I would check the box for profit sharing agreement, and then down here, I would lock it. What this does, it says these particular documents do not apply to my company. By locking it in, it will show over here on the right that it will show that those particular documents are not applicable instead of not attached. If it says not attached, then it's looking for me to attach a document that applies to my business. Now, when you refresh the screen up here at the top, you'll see that it will indicate in the system which documents are not applicable and which documents you still need to attach. I'm going to pause right there and see if there's any questions regarding this section.
I don't see anything in the chat.
All right, great, moving along. Okay, other sections in the if applicable documents, it will ask for licenses. Again, those could be trade licenses such as plumber, electricians, any renewal forms, any permits. These are things that you need to have for your business. Also, if you pay quarterly state unemployment tax, there's a report that you would have to upload. And then certifications, denials, or decertification. So if you have applied for MDOT certification and you have been denied, you would upload that letter and the rationale, or if you've been decertified. So again, if they don't apply to your business at this time, make sure you check that box, click lock, and then refresh. So then it'll show that it's not applicable. So this screen here, the bottom part where it says section questions, this is actually what I covered in part 1. I wanted to include it here just to show you that information that you entered in part 1 for your equipment and vehicles owned or leased. This applies to your business. This is not your POV, but when you answer these questions in part 1 of this training session, or I would say the beginning part of your application, this is where you would upload the documentation to support the information that you entered in the earlier sessions. You don't include your POVs, only list the company vehicles such as trucks that maybe bear your company name, enter the purchase office space or lease agreement. So if you have a lease agreement with the building, upload a copy of that agreement. Storage space, for instance, if you have a warehouse that you're leasing space on, you would include that as well. And then finally, there will be a section for your POV, a separate document that you can upload. For instance, if you use your POV for business purposes to go to meetings or other business related things, then upload the title or the registration along with proof of insurance as a separate attachment. It will be a, if applicable, document. Now, again, I'm including this section question part because it was covered in part 1, but just to recall that if you have contracts and they ask for your last 3 largest contracts, so if you answer that you do have at least 3 contracts, this is where you would actually upload those contracts in this section. If not, hopefully you've checked the not applicable box, locked it in, and then refresh the screen, and then it will show that this section does not apply to your company. Now, these next sections, I'm going to cover them real quick because most people it may not apply to, but a trust. If you have any trust agreements that you're held by any owner claiming disadvantage status, here's where you would upload that trust agreement. The business plan. Now, you could have a business plan, which I'm thinking most people do. However, this is me. Again, this is the views of Rosalind Davis, not the views of Maryland Capital Enterprise or the government. If you upload your business plan, be prepared for it to be scrutinized. Be prepared that if you say you do business in X, but your application says you do business somewhere else, that's a mismatch. That's going to be a flag. You have the option not to include your business plan. So for me, I did not include my business plan because that's just one less document for the reviewer to see. Next section, meeting minutes. So if you had board meetings, you would upload copies of the meeting minutes. It's not referring to staff meetings that you have with your staff. It's referring to board meetings. And here's the joint venture agreements for the ACDBE certification. If you have joint venture agreements, you would upload it here. And then the last section is other supporting documents, if applicable. Some examples would be if you wanted to explain in further detail where you receive your expertise in some of your NAICS codes, you can upload a separate document, Word document, for instance, or if you have a PMP certificate or anything like that that can support your resume, and that's just one example, you can upload that if you want. The key here is less is probably better. If they don't ask for it, I personally would not upload it because that's more for a reviewer to make sure that everything matches in the system. Section status. So after you've answered all those questions that I had covered in section 1 through 4 in part 1, and now you have uploaded all the documents, you're ready to sign and submit your application. And so you would do that here at the towards the bottom. And then once you refresh your screen, you will then also see a green check mark under the receipt and processing section to indicate your application has been received and it's under review. Now, I want to remind you that this process can take about 4 months. So if 2 months from now you go in and it still looks like it's in review, don't panic. They really don't look at those applications till probably about the 3rd month because it takes about 4 months. You could send in, just check the status, send them a note or whatever, but just be patient. It takes about 4 months for them to review the applications and come back with a decision. Now, some key takeaways. So again, applying for MDOT certification is absolutely free. I can't stress that enough because what's going to happen if you pay someone, you're going to gather all your important documentation, turn it over to a third-party person just so they can upload it into the same system that you would have to upload it yourself. But if there's any questions, Maryland Department of Transportation are going to come to you with those questions. So this way, if you do it yourself, it's free. You know what's in your application. Now, if you also going for multiple certifications like minority business, small business, enterprise, or disadvantage, do the uniform certification application. That way you can cover 3 to 4 certifications at one time. Again, it's a 4-step application review process. My recommendation is retain all your information to include your completed application somewhere on your desktop so that you can go back and review it, especially when you get towards the end and they're about to review your application and they have questions. You have immediate access to those documentations. And then your personal net worth in section 4, make sure that you have put that dollar figure in there that you have taken from your personal net worth statement that was notarized. It's very important that those 2 numbers match. You just have to go back and put that number in there if you had not completed your personal net worth statement at that time. And my final recommendation that I say complete your certifications when you are a new business, because at this time there's less documentation to complete. For instance, I started my company last year. So therefore, when they asked for 3 years of past business returns, I didn't have them. It was easier to just say not applicable. So with that, I will take any questions. Thank you for joining me today for part 2 of the MDOT certification application process. And I will turn it over to Lisa.
Rosalind, we have a question. Did you receive any questions that delayed the process?
So I did receive a question that it didn't delay it because they actually tell you that you may have 2 weeks, maybe 30 days. Definitely make sure that you check your spam or your junk folder because you don't want to miss that email because it's time limited. But my question was, I had put that a couple of NAICS codes that I provide services for, but I didn't include that in my resume. So that's why I'm trying to tell you to make sure that if you say that you provide management consultant, that your resume says management consultant and how you obtain that expertise. So for me, I just had to do a separate Word document that said this particular NAICS codes, I obtained this type of expertise during my 24 years in the military at, whatever organization that may have been. Another question that I got is you will eventually have to upload photos to show that you actually have an office. Mine says home base. So I had to take pictures of the office to show that it is a real business office. And then I also had to upload like some advertisements that, maybe a link to my website, maybe my business card, any other marketing material. So those were things that were after I submitted my application that I submitted.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us today. Stay tuned to our website. We do have some good classes coming up in September, and I'll be posting those soon. So stay tuned. And also I want to mention, if any of you feel like you need some more one-on-one assistance, please reach out to me and I can try to line that up with Rosalind and get you the extra help that you need. So my email is in the chat. It's ltwilley@marylandcapital.org. So just reach out and we can try to line that up and make it happen. So we're here to help you any way we can.
And again, thank you, Lisa and Marvin, for providing this training platform. I really do appreciate it. And I invite everyone to connect with me on LinkedIn. So you'll be the first to know about future webinars because I'm always here to support the Maryland Capital Enterprise and the Women's Business Center.
Thank you, Rosalind. And we're getting some good feedback and thanking you for the great training. So that was awesome. You're so clear and concise with all the details. That's what I love.
Thank you. Those details are important because if you get it wrong, your application get kicked out, and then you may have to start over if you don't respond in time.
Exactly. And we'll be doing this training again. So just stay tuned and look for that. If you feel like you want to hear it again, go through it again. And we also have a recording. So we usually send that out to you as well. Marvin will be sending that to everybody that's on today in case there's something you missed or you want to go back and listen to it a couple times. That way you'll be able to do that. All right. So everybody, thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Rosalind,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna look back and see if we decided if we were doing these monthly or quarterly.
We did quarterly.
We did. I thought
Yes,
so. Okay.
yes.
So we have to get another one on the books.
Yes, we talked quarterly.
Okay. All right. So I was like, wait a minute, did we say monthly or quarterly? I was sitting there trying to remember. I've had so much going on lately.
Yeah.
So we'll look at our schedules and you let me know some dates that work for you.
Okay, so we're looking probably fall time frame.
Yeah. So what's
Okay.
so it's
All right, I'll
August
send you an
now.
email with some dates.
That sounds good. All right.
Is
Thank
there
you.
anything that you know right now that's like, no, that's not a good?
I know it's not going to happen in September. So November 3rd, I would not be, or I'm sorry, November 2nd is
Okay.
not a good day for us. We have an awards banquet that
Okay.
day. So other than that, we're pretty open in October and November.
All right, thanks, Lisa. I will be in touch.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.